Hi guys, how are you? I'm teacher Azucena, and today for the class I need you to answer a question. How can we state that reality is what we think it is, and which elements do we have to take in account to justify this statement?
Jorge, Rafa, Vilchis, what do you think?
Before we can solve this question, it's important to have a good understanding of what really reality means. According to dictionaries, reality is the state of things as they actually exist, as opposed to an idealistic or notional idea of them. According to the magazine Philosophy Now, it says that its opposite is not illusion, but the fake, the counterfeit, that which can't be trusted, has no cash value. There isn't any certain answer regarding whether reality is present on matter or if it's present only in our minds.
Therefore, the quest to validate reality becomes a quest for truth, a quest for what really is. The way we interact with the world and our reality is through our senses, and they're the single most important element we have to justify our experiences. However, a problem arises. Some philosophers across history have pointed out that senses are way too subjective and unreliable, as to consider them our main tool in our quest for truth and the validation of reality. Such a character is Descartes, who thought that the only certainty we have about the world is that we exist, as we can assert that if we're doubting, we think, and if we think, we exist. However, Descartes' ideas opposes to a certain extent to the idea that we are ever going to be able to state what reality really is. A counterargument to Descartes' ideas comes with ideas that validate our senses, such as Hume's. Philosophers such as Hume believed in empiricism, the idea that we can interact and learn about our reality through our experiences, and acquire valid knowledge through them as well. What a mess! Two completely opposite ideas that make it really hard to state whether the reality we perceive is actually real or not.
Okay, wait. I don't think that's all. What I understood from what you are saying is that one of the only things that we are sure is real is knowledge. And if it is like that, this knowledge should not be focused on the object, but in the subject. In this way, there are some questions that should be answered priorly, like how do we acquire knowledge? And thus, we have to focus in the subject. To answer this question, we have some elements which can be used to explain our reality. If not, let me explain. According to Kant, our knowledge is divided into two things: matter and form. Matter, that is all that we receive from the world, is chaotic and is what stimulates our senses. Kant's naming nomen. The second one is form. Kant refers to it as phenomena, and it is a little bit more complicated, but I found something useful here. According to the author of the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, Michael Wolff, these depend on both the sensory data that we receive passively through sensibility and the way our mind actively processes this data according to its own a priori rules. In other words, this means that we process phenomena with our sensations and arrange them into concepts. After this process, a new element is added to the equation: reason. Reason is an element that allows us to make hypotheses from the previous processed knowledge in order to create what we call transcendental ideas. These are those ideas that have nothing to do with their other people experience. An example of it can be God or soul. So, to sum up, the reality for me is the same as knowledge, and it can be obtained by the senses, processed by experience, and predicted by reason. But, as stated at the beginning, all of this depends on the person.
Great guys, thank you for all of these ideas. Now, we can arrive to a conclusion. So, after analyzing different proposals on the way we validate our own reality, we can base ourselves in Kant's ideas and processes on epistemology to validate our senses and the reality we believe we live in. Even though Descartes' proposals are tremendously interesting, and relieve the fact that we might never be able to be completely certain about everything via our senses alone, by validating our senses we give ground to many more options within our research to validate and explore our reality, such as science, which in turn give back to us fascinating and ever-improving explanations to aid us in quest for truth. Hope you have learned something useful today, guys. Thank you very much for all this valuable information. See you next class!